Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. We're continuing our Pac-12 football predictions today, and our next team won 10 games just 2 years ago, but only won 5 games last year, and are looking to make a return to the postseason. They are the Colorado Buffaloes. In 2016, Colorado won 10 games and made the Pac-12 Championship. Last year, despite losing some key starters, it didn't look like they were going to miss a beat, starting off the season 3-0, but after that, just winning 2 of their final 9 to finish off 5-7. And they were very close to getting back to a bowl game last year. They lost back-to-back games to UCLA by 4, and then lost to Arizona by 3 right after that UCLA game. And of course, the Arizona game was the emergence of Khalil Tate, and that was something that Colorado wasn't prepared for, and he just had a big field day over the Buffaloes. But had they just won one of those games, they would have had a 6-6 mark and would have gone to back-to-back bowl games under Mike MacIntyre. And he has done a great job with this Buffaloes program, entering year 6 with them. I've got to give a lot of credit to him and what he has done. This year, though, is going to be another uphill battle, but this is a team that Colorado has that could potentially get back to a bowl game after just missing out last year. They get their quarterback. He returns, Steven Montez, and that is huge for the Buffaloes. And he's just a junior, so he could be back next year as well. That's always big when you can return your quarterback. So Steven Montez is there. Wide receiver Jay MacIntyre, the son of Mike MacIntyre, one of their leading wide receivers. He returns this year, so one of the favorite targets for Montez. And then 2 offensive linemen. So that's it. That's the only returning starters for Colorado on the offensive side of the ball. So they're going to have their work cut out for them on that side of the ball. They lose Phillip, Lindsay, and Bryce, Bobo at the wide receiver position, and Lindsay at the running back position. So they lose some key talent there and key yards there as well. But Colorado's still a team that can put up some points this year. 6 returning starters on defense, though. That's where the strength is going to be for Colorado. Delrick Abrams and Evan Worthington in the secondary, and then Drew Lewis at the linebacking position, also the leading tackler for the Buffaloes last year. So the defense is going to be the key for Colorado if they want to get back to a bowl game, getting some key stops, forcing some turnovers, and maybe being the difference maker in some of their close games that they have this year. And they open up the season against Colorado State and Denver like they have for the past many years. They have won 3 straight over the Rams. I expect it to be 4 straight this year. Colorado State has lost Nick Stevens. They lost Dalen Dawkins, and then Michael Gallup, the wide receiver. So they lose their top 3 playmakers on the offensive side of the ball. You've got Mike Bobo over there as head coach at Colorado State. He's done a great job with the Rams so far, but only returns 9 starters. And they very well could miss out on a bowl game this year or just barely make one. So I'm going to give Colorado the win. I think they have more experience and a little more talent on both sides of the ball to get a win there. And they also don't have to replace their quarterback. At Nebraska, this is a very fun game, very intriguing game, one that's going to be big in week 2. Former Big 12 rivals meeting up at Nebraska this year. Scott Frost coming in from Central Florida to take over the job with the Cornhuskers. And Nebraska is going to have a solid team this year. Don't get me wrong. They will have a good team, especially on the defensive side of the ball as well, with 8 returning starters. This game actually could be fairly low scoring. I think Nebraska does own the edge on offense. I'm going to give Colorado the loss here. But Nebraska's going to have some quarterback questions themselves, and it's only week 2, so they're going to need to figure that out fairly quickly. So if they have a quarterback problem there, have a little bit of a struggle there, you're going to have an inexperienced quarterback with Nebraska and a young Colorado offense. This could be a defensive battle that comes down to who gets the most stops, who forces the most turnovers, or takes advantage of their opportunities. But I think with home field advantage and a Scott Frost offense, I think the Cornhuskers will get the job done against the Buffaloes. I think they, of course, get a win over New Hampshire. Then a bye week going into UCLA. I do think they get the win over the Bruins, and that's on a short week as well, playing on a Friday night instead of a Saturday. But they're going to be rested going into this UCLA game, which is at home, and a UCLA team that I just do not have a lot of high expectations for this year. I know a lot of people think just because they got Chip Kelly, they're automatically Pac-12 title contenders. And I really don't think that's going to be the case. They only return 12 starters. They lose their star quarterback in Josh Rosen. They return 7 starters on defense, and once again, that's going to be the strength of the Bruins, much like it will be for Colorado. But in the end, I think Colorado actually owns the edge on offense. They don't have to replace a quarterback. They lose a star quarterback in Josh Rosen. Chip Kelly, yes, an offensive mind, but I think it's going to be a very, very rough year for Kelly and the Bruins in year 1. And Colorado gets a win, especially after coming off a bye week. I also think they get a win over Arizona State as well, bringing in another new head coach with Herm Edwards, a hire that I really like, and I'm very excited to see how he does with the Sun Devils this year. This is going to be a game that if Colorado cannot contain Manny Wilkins at the quarterback position, if they let him have a huge field day through the air, they will lose this game to the Sun Devils, without a doubt. He will have a good year this year, Manny Wilkins will. But I think the defense is going to be prepared for it. I think they're going to be able to shut down the Sun Devils offense. The defense for Arizona State only returns 4 starters, and it's really going to be interesting to see how Herm Edwards conducts this team and how he does. I mean, by this point, we've hit October. We've already played 5 games. You know, how they're looking at, because he hasn't been in the college ranks in such a very long time. So it's going to be very interesting to see how he's doing. But I think Colorado does get a win solely based on experience across the board, coaching, offense, and defense. So I think they get the win over the Sun Devils. But lose on the road to USC. Yes, they do have to replace Sam Darnold, Ronald Jones, and Deontay Burnett. They're 3 top playmakers from last season. But Clay Helton, heck of a head coach, is going to get the job done this year. The defense, despite only returning 6 starters, will still be very, very strong, especially in the secondary position. And with this game being on the road at USC, I just don't see Colorado going on the road and getting a win over the Trojans. It's still a USC team that's going to be very tough in the Pac-12 and could potentially make a return trip to the Pac-12 Championship game on the road against Washington, a team Colorado certainly hasn't had much luck against in a very, very long time, losing to them in the Pac-12 Championship 2 years ago, getting blown out against Washington at home last year. I believe it was 37-10. Washington, too much offensive firepower, even for a solid Colorado defense. Myles Gaskin, Jake Browning, their wide receivers, and then a very, very solid defense as well. This could be another blowout, especially with it being on the road. They come back home, though. They have had 2 straight losses. Right now, they're sitting at 4-3, so still in prime position to get back to a bowl game. They're another 1 win away from a bowl game with a win over Oregon State. Jonathan Smith coming in, new head coach for the Beavers. This is a guy that I really do think is going to transform this Beavers program, get them back to a bowl game, get them back to relevancy in the Pac-12, just not in year 1. It's going to be a very, very tough year for Oregon State. So I do think Colorado gets the win at home. They have some talent there for the Beavers, just not enough to come on the road and get a win, especially with new schemes, new coaching staff, everything like that. On the road at Arizona. Last year, Colorado hanging with the Wildcats. It was at Colorado, only losing by 3 points. And like I said earlier, that was the emergence, like the breakthrough game for Khalil Tate for the Wildcats. This year, Kevin Sumlin comes in. This is a very, very dangerous Arizona team. 7 returning starters on offense, 9 on defense. And that is the kicker. Yes, their offense will be dominant. Khalil Tate, J.J. Taylor, some of their big-time wide receivers are back for Arizona. That, without a doubt, will be strong, especially with Kevin Sumlin as their head coach. But the defense is what's going to be the difference maker for this entire season for Arizona. And I think with it being on the road, Colorado's just not going to have enough to defeat the Wildcats. I unfortunately do not think it's going to be close like it was last year. So a loss against Arizona there. But they get to bowl eligibility with a win over Washington State. Last year, Colorado getting shut out by the Cougars. But Washington State losing on tons of talent, especially their star quarterback in Luke Falk. We lost a lot of great quarterbacks in the Pac-12 just last season. And Washington State, this is a team that I think Mike Leach is going to have a rebuilding year this year. You only have 10 returning starters. You've got to replace your star quarterback. You've got a defense that has 6 returning starters and should be strong and a brutal schedule. This game being at home for Colorado, knowing what lies ahead of them in the final 3 weeks of the season, knowing they're just 1 win away from a bowl game. And I do think they get that here against the Cougars. And I think they lose against Utah, a team that I really do think could get to their first Pac-12 championship game ever, first Pac-12 game ever. And this is a Utah team that returns Tyler Huntley at quarterback, Zach Moss at running back, and a very, very solid defense, despite only returning 6 starters. So this is a Utah team that Kyle Whittingham has built up over his entire career there. Last year, just going 6-6 in the regular season, will do even better this year with the Utes, and I think it's going to be a loss, even though it is at home for Colorado. And then I'm also getting a loss to close out the year against California. This is the California team that I really, really like, a team that I think if they pull off a couple upsets against some of the big dogs in the Pac-12, could get to the Pac-12 championship game. That's how much I like California this year. I'm not calling for them to make the Pac-12 championship game, but if they pull off some big-time upsets, they can certainly get there. I mean, you've got Ross Bowers at quarterback, along with 10 total returning starters on the offensive side of the ball and 8 on defense, and Justin Wilcox, as a defensive-minded coach, is going to come in, and he's certainly built something at this California program, despite only being there just 1 year last year and getting them to 5-7. So just barely making a bowl with a very inexperienced team last year, a very experienced team this year with Justin Wilcox as your head coach. Very, very dangerous, and I'm going to give Colorado a loss there on the road. That's going to give the Buffaloes, though, a 6-6 record, which is something to be very, very happy about. I mean, that's only going to be the second bowl game in the Mike MacIntyre era since he became head coach with the Buffaloes. The first coming just 2 years ago when they made the Pac-12 championship game. But 6-6 with the talent they returned this year. I love Montez at quarterback. I think he's going to be the leader for this team. And then a defense that isn't getting a lot of attention but could probably make some big-time plays. I think this is very reasonable to see Colorado go maybe 5-7 if they slip up somewhere. But I think 6-6 is probably what's going to happen for them this year. And that's something to be very ecstatic about for Buffalo fans to once again be playing in the postseason after having a break for so long and, of course, taking a break last year after such a great season in 2016. So as always, please go check us out on Twitter at Gridiron Expert, on Instagram at The Gridiron Expert, and always here on YouTube. Please continue to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you next time on The Gridiron Expert.